Welcome back to One-on-One Sports. I'm joined by the Italian stallion, Joey Accordino, and the pride of Ohio, Billy O'Riordan. Now, guys, we're here to talk some college basketball. Revolving door at number 1 as of late, but let's look at the bad teams and which one has had the most disappointing season. Billy, let's start with you.
Christian, it's extremely obvious that it's Michigan State. This was a team that was some people's number 1 going into this year. They were in at number 2. They were supposed to be a national championship contender, and they are just awful. They've lost to Iowa by 20 points. They lost to Penn State. They lost to Michigan. This team is terrible. Came out of nowhere.
I wanted to pick Kansas State so bad, but they had to mess things up and beat Kansas, the number 1 team in the country last night. It's got to be Michigan State from the dismissal of Corey Lucius. But, you know, I think this started because Tom Izzo had this flirtation with your Cleveland Cavaliers in the offseason.
They don't only ruin their team, they ruin other teams too. Yeah, it's
That's right.
It's a virus.
Remember this, though, college basketball fans. This is a one-year thing. Tom Izzo is still one of the greatest coaches in the game. Let's not go all crazy like we did last year with Roy Williams and the North Carolina Tar Heels. Please.
Sure. Yeah, I think we got to remember, too, Kalen Lucas injured. So they're already down, two good guards there. So
he's still a good coach.
But they're still terrible.
They're still real.
They're still terrible. Now let's look at one of the Player of the Year candidates, Jimmer Fredette of BYU. Joey, is he a legitimate NBA lottery pick?
Billy, let me describe a player for you. Okay.
Go for it.
Volume shooter, shooting guard from a non-BCS conference, captures the heart of Americans everywhere, is undersized for the position. Does that sound familiar to you at all? Maybe someone in the last 5 years, maybe someone named Adam Morrison. That's who Jimmer Fredette reminds me of, except he's 5 inches shorter than Adam Morrison.
You know what? I hear that, but you said Adam Morrison at the end. I'm hearing Stephen Curry, which is exactly what Jimmer reminds me of. Sure, he's a bit of a defensive liability, but he can shoot from anywhere. When he gets hot, he's almost unstoppable. He's shooting 47% from the floor, 42 from 3, and 90. Those are great stats. He's good with the ball in his hands. He is.
So is Adam Morrison.
He's Stephen Curry.
Stephen Curry is the exception to the rule. He is not a lottery pick. He's not a lottery pick.
And how do we know Jimmer is not an exception as well, if that's what we're going to
He's not, I'm telling you right now.
Well, let me ask you this. Who has more rings than LeBron James? Adam Morrison. It's the truth.
When he's right, Joe.
So moving on here, we got the one and done rule. It's always a topic of conversation. Billy, what do you think about the one and done rule? Is it good or is it bad?
I cannot stand the one and done rule. It is an embarrassment to college basketball. It is a waste of time.
Why?
Try and look me in the face and tell me that these kids are student athletes. Really? I don't see it. They're there for 1 year to get in the NBA. Stop with this farce. Let them go to the NBA when they want to out of high school. It's a big waste of time.
Billy, you can't allow 17-year-old kids to make life-altering decisions that usually don't work out in their favor. Not everyone is a guaranteed future pro Hall of Famer pick. These kids are making bad decisions all the time. Gerald Green, Corleone Young, Kwame Brown was
LeBron
never
James,
an overall
Andrew
pick.
Bynum, Kevin Garnett, Kobe Bryant.
You have to give players a chance at an education. You look at someone like John Henson, who would have gone pro right out of high school, would have done terribly. Now he might be a 3 or 4 year player and get a college degree.
It's not like they're forced to enter the NBA draft out of high school. It just means that they can go out of high school. There's no reason these kids can't go into college anyway.
It's a bad idea.
I just can't see you forcing them to go.
I don't think they will ever have a legitimate answer because as long as it keeps happening, there's going to be both sides, just like this.
True. That's
now,
true.
really quickly, who's going to win the Big East? Because this conference is totally up for grabs. Joey.
It's crazy right now. I'm going Pittsburgh only because they're in the lead. The worst case scenario is they lose 3 more games, which would tie them with some of those second and third place teams at 4 losses. But it's bananas.
I got to say, you can roll a die to decide who's going to win the Big East. It's like this every year. I'm going with Georgetown. I think Pittsburgh has a bit of a harder schedule left. They still have to go to St. John's, who's been beating top 25 teams. Like it's their job. They got to play Villanova. They got to play Louisville. I think Georgetown's going to end up sneaking in at the end. They play Cincy twice in their last 4 games. So I think they have a pretty easy road. Georgetown's going to end up taking it.
Oh, I got to go with Joey on this one. I'm taking Pittsburgh, and look out for Villanova as my dark horse to win the Big East. It's time for us again to take another timeout. But on the other side of this commercial break, Eric will ask Tom Waterman if anyone can defeat the great Jimmy Johnson. Stay tuned.